Sunbelt teams won 10 ball games in week 1. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and we did it. Overnight, we went over 600 subscriptions. Thank you so much. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, we had like 10 on Monday, a holiday nonetheless. And basically, that's what we need. We need 10 a day to break it down. We need 50 a week, 50 being Monday through Friday. So we're off to a really good start. The goal, again, is 1,000 by Halloween. We're more than halfway there, and I just think that the channel is going to grow as we do get into actual, college football. And we got plenty to discuss here tonight. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle with any purchase. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. All right, so we will recap a lot of the Sunbelt, which we did not do, the games we did not do for Monday's episode. And we'll wrap it up with, we already may be having some, I don't want to say controversy, but changes QB-wise. And in the middle, we have Ragin Cajuns corner, Keyon Martin. He's going to join us. They had a nice win over Northwestern State, 38-13, and they play ODU coming up this weekend, an early Sunbelt Conference ball game. Also, he wants to be a sportscaster. I told him to slow his roll a little bit. I still like doing this. Don't take my job just yet. Okay. All right, so let's go over some of the games that happened that we did not talk about. Obviously, the Texas State ball game was the big one that got all of the attention. We went over South Alabama. We went over the Cajuns. Marshall got a win and move on. They had one turnover. They did not score in the first half. They were down 3-0. I mean, it's not like the defense didn't play well, didn't play particularly well in the third quarter, gave up a couple of touchdowns. But they did shut them out in the first quarter, only 3 in the second and nothing in the fourth. They had to rally with 14 in the third and 7 in the fourth quarter. Cam Fatcher seems like he's got his detractors, but he didn't have that bad of a ball game. 28 for 35 with 268 yards. He did have an interception, so that's not great. Rasheen Ali, 18 carries, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. It took a little bit of time for the offense to get going. They still put up 413 yards. Albany only 300. Now, again, Albany is I believe, an FCS school. So maybe Marshall, fans aren't, Thundering Herd fans aren't particularly happy with that. But nonetheless, you got to win and move on. It's always much more fun to, make the corrections after a win. But I don't think anybody is particularly happy with the way that game went. They will take the victory, although the offense seemed to start a little bit slow in the first half. They do get East Carolina. East Carolina coming off a loss to Michigan, 30-3. A good chance to see, if Marshall, they always say, the biggest improvements come after week 1 to week 2. We'll see if that remains true. We are having issues with the internet. Let's see what other ball games. App State also had a change in quarterback. Ryan Berger got a little bit banged up. I listened to Sean Clark on the Sunbelt Media availability, and either nobody asked him or he didn't mention it or I missed it. App State wins 45-24, so I don't know if Ryan Berger is going to be back or not. But he was 7 for 11, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Thing is, Joey Aguilar came in for a banged-up Berger, and he was 11 out of 13 for 174 yards and 4 touchdowns. Probably not going to be all that pleased with a lot of offense from Gardner-Webb. 365 yards total to 394 for App State. They passed for 231 yards. They rushed it for 134. App's usually got better defense than that. So I'm sure that is not the pleasing. I mean, the first downs were 23 to 19. They're actually better on third downs, 7 for 17 to App's only 4 for 13. So that's where App State's going to want to clean it up. Again, I did not hear Sean Clark if Aguilar is going to start or if Berger is going to start. We will keep you updated throughout. Now we get a rematch of, that great week 1 ball game last year, right? 63-61 overtime loss for App State, but a ridiculous ball game because didn't Carolina score like 40 points in the fourth, or App State scored 40 points in the fourth quarter to send it to overtime, and Chase Price short-armed a ball, 2-point conversion in the end zone that would have, continued the game. So they do get Carolina. That's on the ACC network. Quarterback-wise, they seem to be okay. Again, it's tough for these. You just don't know how they're going to react the first time they're on the field, the first chance they get a chance to play. Hopefully Berger's okay. I thought I read that he hurt his finger. But Joey Aguilar came in there, and we'll see if he gets the starting nod for this week against Carolina. All right. Georgia Southern, an easy win, 34-0 over the Citadel. Davis Brin, 244 yards, a couple of touchdowns, did throw an interception. I think he started off a little bit hotter from what I saw on Saturday night. 27-36 for 244, 75%. The 2 touchdowns is nice. The interception is not, but he's known to do that. We're actually trying to get Kyle Van Treese on the podcast, and got to cut down on those interceptions if you are the turnovers if you are Georgia Southern. That is the key. It obviously did not affect them against the Citadel. All right, so that's good stuff for Georgia Southern, off to a good start. And the defense, I mean, you're not giving up any points. I don't care what level you're playing at, right? Oklahoma and Arkansas State, which we'll talk about now. My orange Syracuse blanking teams, I mean, Ole Miss scored 73 points. They still gave up a touchdown, and that was on the first play of the game. So those things do happen. All right, so let's talk about Oklahoma, 73-0 against Arkansas State. I guess we're talking about Arkansas State. Just there's nothing positive to take from this ball game. If you're Arkansas State, they gave up 28 first quarter points, 45 first half points. J.D. Shroud, 12 of 26, 148 yards. Jackson Daly played a little bit, but the team stats, oh my God, it's 642 to 208 yards. 208 yards. I understand it's a mismatch, and, Oklahoma was about a 40-point favorite. Okay, 36-point favorite. So, if you win, 55-10, all right, you compete. You tried to compete. It wasn't too bad, but my goodness, you gotta start doing something. Plus, they had 14 penalties for 111 yards. So that just, you take the film, you burn it, you move on. Let's see what happens, because that seat is going to it was already on, simmer for Butch Jones, a couple of seasons. He's only got like 5 wins in 2 years. They get Memphis. That game needs to be close, if not a win. They get Memphis at home. They really have to do a number against this. They really have to come back. It's a 21-point favorite. They got to be close to Memphis, because whether Memphis is good or not, Arkansas State should be on that level or close to it. It certainly used to be. You get Stony Brook the week after, but then you're getting Southern Miss. Good luck. You got to turn things around, and you do have to turn them around quickly. All right, we will talk about more of the games we still got to do. Southern Miss and a couple of quarterbacks. As we mentioned, one of them may be out, but that may be due to injury, and maybe a couple of them are not due to injury. We'll do that in the third segment. Coming up next, Ragin' Cajuns cornerback, defensive back Keyon Martin talks about the win over Northwestern State and his desire to be a sportscaster. He's got a podcast out, and we look ahead to ODU as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Birddogs. I do love my Birddogs. All right. I think I have nice legs to begin with, but they do accentuate them very well. Birddogs make me look great. They have this stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer, which helps me as well. through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. And they fit way better than the regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Birddogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Birddogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric to keep you cool and dry all day long. Birddogs are functional for any occasion. If you're going golfing, if you're on a date, an evening out, if you want to be hanging out by the pool, working out, lounging, whatever it may be, you can always choose Birddogs. If you do order Birddogs now, all right, you're going to get a water bottle. I got a Yeti-style tumbler here. There you go. I don't have the water bottle just yet. I use this all the day. Again, the joke is I don't know how this is so technologically advanced that it can keep the cool drinks cool and the hot drinks hot. All right, so go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, let's talk with Cajuns, Ragin' Cajuns corner, Keyon Martin. They had a big win over Northwestern State and looking ahead to a Sunbelt matchup early on in the season against ODU. Dave Schultz back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk a little Ragin' Cajuns, and let's do it with Keyon Martin, cornerback for the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, coming off a 38-13 victory over the Northwestern State Demons. Keyon, the defense was spectacular. You guys gave up only 187 yards. 47 of that was on Northwestern State's last offensive play. How did you grade how the team played and defensively?
Oh, defensively, we played amazing. I don't think we could have played any better than that, the way we flew to the ball and the way how excited we were just to get on the field together, because that was one of the first times that we actually got a chance to display our talents in front of everybody as all of us on the field together, because a lot of us didn't really have a big role in the season last year. So this year we was pumped up. We knew what was going to happen before the game started, but now everybody else just started to see it once we put it on display.
Yeah, talk about that, because you knew the game was a delay. It wasn't delayed an hour, it was pushed back an hour. So you knew that. But then, around 7:10, 7:15, they go, oh, lightning delay, which we all clearly saw, lightning bolts around the stadium. So what does that do when you guys realize, oh, we got to shut it down? It wasn't a half an hour from, 7:30, but it was a half an hour from where we were. The game didn't really kick off until 10 of 8.
Yeah. The lightning delay, you could tell the anger we had to hold it back because we wanted to go out there on the field so bad. So when they told us lightning delay, we was like seriously? We thought everybody was thinking about it last year. We played Eastern Michigan when we had a long lightning delay against Eastern Michigan last year. We still came out on top. So when we get a lightning delay, I think that can be one of the best things about us, because when we get a lightning delay, we come out and play better. Like last year, we was down 14-0, had a lightning delay, and came back and beat Eastern Michigan. So the lightning delay, I guess it helped in a way, but we were still – it would have never – things would have been the same even if the lightning delay didn't happen.
We're talking to Keyon Martin, Ragin' Cajuns cornerback. All right, second play of scrimmage for the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, 62-yard run by Draylen Washington. What are you thinking?
Oh yeah, Draylen, he got a lot to prove this year. He got a chip on his shoulder, and just being able to play the way that he did last week, that was just a taste of what everybody gonna get for the rest of the season. Because we got a lot of Sunbelt. Everybody got Draylen Washington under some big names in the Sunbelt and the other running backs. So Draylen got a lot to prove. So these next games, especially against Old Dominion, y'all can see a lot of Draylen. He's gonna get a lot more touches and he's gonna make a lot more plays. Because I think Draylen could be one of the I think he's one of the fastest running backs in the Sunbelt. I can say that confidently.
Well, okay. Well, talking about speed, all right, your quarterback showed off his wheels. Zylan Perry had a fumble, and he had Ben Wooldridge, surgically repaired knee and all, trying to track down, a Cadillac Roan who was going to return it for a touchdown. There were other guys chasing him, and I was thinking, maybe Ben should sit this one out. Let's not test that knee, but he tracked him down. and all of a sudden your coach thinks he's faster than he was before. Do we need a Keyon Martin, Ben Woldridge race? Are you going to be embarrassed if your quarterback takes you out?
You know what's crazy? I just talked a bit about that. I said, Ben, if that was me that picked up that fumble, you probably would have pulled your hamstring and tried to catch me. Because it ain't no way that – I mean, Glenn, he looked fast. I was like, oh, snap, the whole time when he was chasing me.
Yeah.
But this right here, I'm from Florida. Florida speed is totally different. It ain't a lot of people that can mess with me when it comes to running.
It's Keyon Martin. We're talking Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, we got a chance to talk to you at the press availability last week, and it sort of sounded like you were BMO. I'm sure you were BMOC, big man on campus in high school. You ended up at Youngstown State. You were a big man on campus there, and all of a sudden there was a little bit of a humbling when you came to the Cajuns because I'm sure you thought you were going to play right away, and then you had to sit behind Eric Garrer, who is now on the Titans practice squad. He is everything, punt returner and cover corner. What was that experience like for you?
That experience was I can't put it no more than humbling. I feel like it was one of the best things that happened to me in a way because ever since I've been in college, I never really sat behind anybody. So that's one of the things when I first got to Youngstown State, my corner coach told me that my freshman year, we had older guys you wouldn't have been starting. You probably would have been playing behind just so I can learn from somebody. So learning from EG, I feel like it was one of the best things that could happen to me. But it was hard on the mental. I had to rely on a lot of people to be there for me mentally. But I knew once the season was over and coming into spring, that even made it worse when I pulled my hamstring in the spring and missed the whole spring season. But I knew how to come back, and I had a lot of people, my mom, my dad, they've been there for me, and they supported me the whole way. And I feel like it made me a lot better this season, and I'm excited for this season because I feel like I put in the work throughout the whole offseason to determine what type of season I'm going to have this year.
How did you stay mentally into the game? Because cornerbacks are usually, those are not rotated. Defensive line guys are rotated. Wide receivers are rotated. Running backs are rotated. The O-line and the defensive secondary basically stay the same. So how did you stay mentally into all the games?
They will get me in there from time to time so I can. But my main roles last year was on special teams. I played. I felt like I had a big role on the team because, like again, EG was #1 punt returner in the nation, and I was one of those guys blocking for him. So blocking on punt return, I took that very personal. That was the main thing. I said, if they're going to give me one job, I'm going to be the best at it. So I took punt return very personal, and it turned out we let EG be the best because once he get the ball in the hand, he do what he do. So he was the best #1 punt returner in the nation. So that's one way I stayed in the game.
All right, so we're going to take it up a level because there's one thing, not playing and having people support you and keeping your chin up. One of your teammates, unfortunately, lost a parent. Mason Narcisse had to miss the game. Found out on Friday. Coach Desimo is the one who told him, what's it going to be like when he comes back. I mean, you guys aren't supposed to lose parents, in your early 20s or teenage years. How are you guys going to help him, mentally through this? That right there when Coach Des, because one thing about Coach Des, he don't like to keep secrets throughout the facility and the team. So when he shared the news to us, it felt like it kind of you could tell the room felt for Mason because Mason is such a high energy person and gets along with everybody on the team. Like when Mason walks in the room, you feel the energy of Mason because he's so high spirited. So just hearing that from Mason and just knowing what he's going through, it was tough. We all reached out to Mason, and a lot of people reached out to Mason, but I feel like Mason knows that everybody on the team literally, legitimately loves Mason. Like they would do anything for Mason. So I know when Mason comes back, and when he comes back and get into the facility, we're gonna be there for him. Because it's tough. It's tough losing a parent. That's one of the toughest things. I can't say I feel for him, but I can most definitely say I could be there for him. Mason, that's one of the friends I got since I've been here. One of the first people I met, and
we just been cool ever since. But Mason on the field, he has no problem on the field. When Mason gets back on the field and doing what he loves, he's going to make the plays, and he's going to make our defense 10 times better. Y'all thought our defense was good last week. You can wait till Mason comes back.
All right, let's take a little bit lighter note as we wrap things up. A couple more questions from Keyon Martin. Locked on Sunbelt with the Ragin' Cajuns corner. All right, so you want to do what I'm doing. You want to be a sportscaster. Is that what I said? That's what you told us. You do have a podcast. Let's, promote that. What's the podcast, and what do you guys talk about?
Okay, well, the podcast, I did start a podcast when I was at Youngstown State. I started it with 2 teammates, George Porter-Real and Elijah Curtis. One of them currently still at Youngstown State. But I started a situational sit-down. I always wanted to get into sports broadcasting. My goal is to be on ESPN or CBS Sports. I just want to be at the top. I want everybody to, when they think about sports, they want to see what Keyon Martin said about sports. But but the situational sit-down, it's about, well, now Pat Mensah's on the show, another DB, and one of my friends that I met on campus, Brian Jean-Pierre. It's basically like the pivot. I don't know if you ever heard of the pivot with Ryan Clark.
I do, sure. Ryan Clark, yeah. Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, I basically took that route, and I bring people on the. We typically have a guest, and we want to provide a platform for people to share their stories, share the adversity they went through to get to where they are. We had Braylon Trahan on the podcast. And we had Andre Jones, who just currently made the 53-man roster. So
that's right.
We got about 4 or 5 episodes. Y'all go tune into those, and I take all criticism. I want to hear everything. I want to be the best. So criticism, I know how to learn. I learn from criticism. So please critique me and go comment on that. But we will start the podcast back up. We couldn't do it during fall camp. That was tough. We couldn't do that during fall camp. So
right.
But now, since the season's back up and we got off days on Mondays, we will be starting the situation sit down back up, and I ask for everybody to support.
All right, situational sit down on YouTube. All right, one more question. Let's talk about the upcoming game and an unusual early season Sun Belt Conference game at ODU. What do you guys know about the Monarchs? They got a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. They lost the running back, lost their wide receiver. They replaced a lot of guys. What do you know about ODU?
I do my research early. So coming off, they just lost to Virginia Tech, which wasn't a bad game. It was a tight game the whole game till probably like the end, middle of the fourth quarter or the start of the fourth quarter. So they was in a dogfight. But pertaining to me, the offense, ODU, they got a new OC. They basically got a new team, a lot of new players. But they like to spread the offense out wide, and they like to run the ball and like to make the linebackers and the safeties make tackles in space. So that's their offense. They like to spread the safeties and the corners out to put the wide receivers all the way outside the numbers. And they got some receivers. They got some nice, quick receivers who can beat you vertically if you allow them to. But I'm confident in our DBs. I feel like we could play. They want to play with speed. We got speed in our backfield too. So I'm confident in our DBs. I'm confident in our linebackers. I feel like our linebackers make tackles in space. So I'm really confident in our defense going against that offense. Even though they are a talented offense, it's gonna be a good game. I can say that after watching film. I can say it's gonna be a good game. But one thing about us Cajuns, we ready for the challenge.
He's Keyon Martin, Ragin' Cajuns cornerback, taking on ODU. It's a 5 p.m. Central Time game, so hopefully, we'll be out of the studio before 1 a.m. like we were this last week. Yeah, you ain't kidding. I appreciate the time, Keyon. Best of luck with the football, and slow the roll on the sportscaster. Some of us are, trying to still do it. Don't take my job.
I got you.
All right, special thanks to Ragin' Cajuns corner Keyon Martin for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, wishing him and his Cajuns all the best against ODU this weekend. Looking forward to this. All right, the NFL is almost here, baby. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's continue to roll through the Sunbelt. And again, we may already have some quarterback changes. The Joey Aguilar for Ryan Berger may be due to injury, but one is not. James Madison beat Bucknell 38-3. But all kinds of issues for redshirt freshman Alonzo Barnett, the third, just 3 for 11, 15 yards, and an interception. And Curt Cignetti said the coaching staff was afraid to call a pass play. So Jordan McLeod to the rescue, 7 for 11, the transfer from Arizona, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, a relatively easy win, 38-3. And James Madison gets Virginia. Curt Cignetti announces Jordan McLeod will start for JMU. So that is one quarterback change already, at least in the short term. We'll see what happens moving forward. Again, a rather easy win for JMU against Bucknell, but already a quarterback change. Another potential quarterback change, Monroe, 17-13. Again, I heard Terry Bowden's media availability. I'm not sure if anybody asked him about the quarterback change per se, but Jaya Martin, left the game, and Herring had to come in. The transfer from the Cajuns had to come in, and he saved the day as well. They scored. He didn't have particularly good stats, by the way, but they won the game, which is what's really important. 17-13 over Army, and so we'll see if Terry Bowden makes a change at quarterback. Let me see if we can get the box score here. Again, having all kinds of issues online. Here you go. Jaya Wright, 10-21, just 70 yards. I mean, 3.3 yards per pass. Yeesh. And 2 interceptions. Hunter Herring comes in, throws 1 touchdown. He was all of 4 of 9 for 22 passes. But what Terry Bowden said at his media availability is that he slowed the game down. All right, that was what was important. He slowed the game down for Monroe and led him to victory. 14 points in the fourth quarter. Again, Monroe playing Lamar. First chance since 2018. Monroe can go 2-0. That's pretty good, right? We were talking about yesterday. LSU hasn't won a season opener since 2019. Monroe hasn't been 2-0 since 2018. So best of luck to Terry Bowden and the Warhawks hosting Lamar. All right, rather easy win. I think this is our last ball game. Southern Miss got off to a good start against Alcorn State. We want to look at their next opponent. We actually have 2 more games to go. Southern Miss beats Alcorn State 40-14. Billy Wiles, 267, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Let's see what the Superback did. Frank Gore Jr., 6 carries, only 29 yards, but he scored a touchdown on the ground. Holman Edwards even got into the ballgame, the backup QB, 3 for 3 for 29 yards. Rather easy win. Southern Miss getting off to a 17-7 lead in the first quarter, 27-7 at halftime. And that allows, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rushers. Is that right? Yeah. 10 guys rushed for Southern Miss, including the quarterbacks, Wiles and Holman Edwards, although you never know what's a sack without actually watching the game. So an easy win for Southern Miss over Alcorn State, 40-14. They probably did a little early scouting on Florida State because that's who they're getting next. Good luck to the Fighting Will Halls taking on the Seminoles. Maybe a letdown game for Florida State after taking care of LSU. Let's see what Florida State's next opponent is. It's BC, so can't really be a letdown game, although that's a conference game. Can't really be a letdown game or a trap game when you're playing BC the next week. I'm not buying that. All right. That is also on the ACC network, 7:30 on Saturday night. All right. And Troy got a win. I did see a little bit of John Summerall's media availability today on the Sunbelt Avail, and he was not happy at all. I guess I got a few more games to go. Troy beat Stephen F. Austin 48-30, excuse me. They got off to a 21-3 start, and then Stephen F. Austin 17 points in the second. That's going to, well, piss him off. All right. Kamani Vidal was outstanding. 200, I see that right? 248 yards. Kamani Vidal, 248 yards on 25 carries, 10 yards a carry. Goodness. Gunnar Watson numbers, right? 14 out of 22, 198 yards, 4 touchdowns, does have 1 interception. Did they have a bunch of turnovers? How did they get? They did. They fumbled the ball a bunch. So they had 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles lost, and 1 interception. And that's going to rile any coach whatsoever. So that's how Stephen F. Austin scores 30 points against, not only one of the better defenses in the Sun Belt, but one of the better defenses in the nation. All right. ODU, they lose to Virginia Tech 36-17. They were in this ball game, as you heard Keyon Martin say. They were in the game until a little bit later on. It was 23-17 midway through the third quarter. They scored a touchdown, 5:43 to go in the third quarter, and then they couldn't score again, and Virginia Tech pulled away. So for 2.5 quarters, more than 2.5 quarters, ODU was in this ballgame. Now, they didn't put up a whole lot of offensive numbers. All right. They did put up almost 300 yards. That's not awful. Only 94 yards passing, 200 yards on the ground. So Grant Wilson is doing a lot of that. 94 yards in the air, 81 yards on the ground. So Grant Wilson carrying a big load for ODU. Ball game, well, last one to go over. And ODU and the Cajuns, as we mentioned, are playing this weekend. One last game to go over. I got a chance to watch this game a little bit because it was, Pac-12 after dark. It was Coastal Carolina taking on UCLA in a ball game that I think Coastal would like to have back. It was 14-13. Beginning of the fourth quarter, UCLA up, and Coastal is driving there at midfield. UCLA made a couple of plays, and boom, they scored a touchdown, and that made it 21-13, and UCLA added a couple more field goals. Grayson McCall, unlike him, 271 in the air, only 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions, 27-42. Coastal Carolina had issues running the football, averaging 1.6 yards a carry, 34 carries, 56 yards. That's not going to get it done in most places. UCLA didn't put up great numbers. They used 2 quarterbacks, Dante Moore, 7-12, 143, 2 touchdowns, interception. Ethan Garbers, 10-17, 121. Guess it's not bad, 17 out of 29, but they threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. You know what? Instead of should have won it, Coastal Carolina absolutely could have won this football game, although they did cover. They did cover, as it turns out. Okay, so 10 wins for the Sun Belt. Let's see if we can figure it out off the top of my head who didn't, right? ODU didn't win. The Jaguars didn't win. Arkansas State didn't win. And I missed one. I couldn't do it. So Coastal, Old Dominion, Arkansas State, the last one I talked about. So it was Coastal. All right. So Coastal, Old Dominion, South Alabama, and Arkansas State. All right. But a good week overall. As the week goes on, we will preview the upcoming week, week 2. And again, we're already in conference play with the Jaguars. I keep on doing that. With the Cajuns and the Monarchs. All right. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, you can also hear all of the Sunbelt podcast on wherever you get your audio podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Really appreciate it. We're over 600. We didn't quite get it on Saturday, but boy, it was pretty good to wake up to it on Monday morning and have it. And we're already close to 610. Really appreciate it. Please subscribe on YouTube. Please tell your friends. I'm seeing more and more comments in there, so the channel is growing. It is sincerely appreciated. Thank you so much. We'll keep the content coming. Until then, I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Thanks so much, and you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.